Welcome, dear students. Today we are going to learn about the Coalition for Digital Environmental Sustainability. In the rapidly evolving landscape of environmental conservation, the role of digital technology has emerged as a transformative force. Climate change, pollution, and biodiversity loss threaten our planet's capacity to sustain us. Business as usual is no longer a choice we can afford. Digital technologies and capabilities harnessed with care can facilitate the speed and scale of change needed to reach critical sustainability goals. The vitality of our communities and environment depends on it. The use and adoption of digital technologies is driving massive economic, social, and environmental changes. The future of humanity and the health of planet Earth depends to a large extent on how we undergo this digital transformation. We have an opportunity to drive this transformation in a manner that helps build a healthier, safer, cleaner, and more equitable future rather than one of exacerbated environmental degradation, inequality, and social division. However, achieving global sustainability is not an inevitable or an obvious outcome of digitalization. Indeed, digital technologies, through their energy and material requirements and influence on consumer demands, have accelerated the exponential rise of the human impact on the natural environment that now threatens the resilience of our ecological systems alongside worsening societal inequalities and escalating social injustice. Digitalization has the potential to help transform society and business models to a more sustainable and equitable world, but only if there is a conscious and deliberate effort to steer it in that direction. As nations grapple with the challenges posed by climate change and ecological degradation, the need for innovative solutions has never been more pressing. Recognizing this urgency, the Coalition for Digital Environmental Sustainability, that's CODES, has emerged as a pivotal player in shaping the future of environmental stewardship in the digital age. Established in March 2021, CODES is an international coalition comprising multiple stakeholders formed in alignment with the UN Secretary General's Roadmap for Digital Cooperation. The primary objective of the collaborative endeavor CODES is to seize the potential offered by current and forthcoming digital innovations to achieve the 17 Sustainable Development Goals by 2030 and beyond. This endeavor entails establishing appropriate infrastructural and institutional frameworks at both local and global levels to foster sustainable digital societies. Moreover, it involves enhancing our research capabilities in the emerging field of digital sustainability and sustainable digitalization, as well as cultivating the skills necessary for more effective and equitable implementation and fostering partnerships among various stakeholders. Additionally, it is imperative to revisit discussions on the ethical transition towards a sustainable planet in the digital age, guided by the principles of human rights and the commitment of UN member states to ensure that no one is left behind. The founding co-champions of CODES include the United Nations Environment Programme, the United Nations Development Programme, the International Science Council, the German Environment Agency, the Kenya Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Future Earth, and Sustainability in the Digital Age. The co-champions act as the Secretariat for Codes in close coordination and cooperation with the Office of the Secretary General's Envoy on Technology. During the Stockholm International Environmental Meeting, the Codes launched the Action Plan for a Sustainable Planet in the Digital Age. The goal of the Action Plan is to offer a vision and set up priorities to advance digital sustainability through a series of multi-stakeholder impact initiatives that require collective action and collaboration. This action plan describes 3 systemic shifts. Within each shift, the action plan identifies 6 strategic priorities that must be addressed during the 2022 to 2025 timeline, as well as 9 global impact initiatives that interested stakeholders can lead, contribute to, or engage in to catalyze systemic transformations. Let us discuss this action plan in detail. The 3 major shifts include: Shift 1, Enable Alignment. The first shift calls for the convergence and digitalization and sustainability to accelerate environmentally, socially, and economically sustainable development. It proposes a reimagining of a common vision for digitalization along with renewed objectives for sustainable development in the digital age. Core stakeholders identified 6 strategic priorities or enablers that act as fundamental enablers to achieving the systems level change needed for this shift. These include connecting communities and transformations, developing digital transformations, harnessing science and systems thinking, advancing digital multilateralism, building pioneer coalitions, and adopting norms and standards. Students, we shall discuss these enablers now. Enabler 1. Connect communities and transformations. Indigenous and modern understandings of environmental and social sustainability values must be systematically considered by actors at the forefront of existing and emerging digital technologies, innovations, and governance frameworks. Similarly, sustainability commitments and multilateral environmental agreements must consistently consider how they can be enabled through digital transformation. Strategic dialogue and mutual learning between the digital and sustainability communities is needed to enable greater cohesiveness of visions and mindsets, and can be used as an opportunity to solve systemic barriers to environmental and social sustainability. This integrated approach should be consequently implemented in and incentivized by national and international policy agendas and organizations, research and education programs, technology development, and civil society action alike. Silo thinking and business as usual must end in order to systematically address digitalization and sustainability as closely interlinked cross-cutting twin transactions. Enabler 2. Develop digital competencies. Key actors in digitalization and sustainability lack essential digital competencies, including policymakers needing to grasp environmental risks and opportunities, and entrepreneurs and engineers needing to understand sustainability impacts. Upskilling efforts, including in academic curricula and vocational training, are crucial for integrating digital sustainability needs. Overcoming the digital divide requires integrated efforts in digital and sustainability literacy. Enabler 3. Harness science and systems thinking. Understanding the complexity of achieving planetary sustainability requires a holistic systems thinking approach encompassing Earth's dynamics, economic and social systems, and feedback loops. A science-based understanding of how digital technologies impact these systems and can be aligned with sustainability goals is essential for the new social contract in the digital age. Enabler 4. Advanced digital multilateralism. Global digital ecosystems controlled by few powerful companies require collaboration between governments, private sector, and civil society for sustainable policies and standards. Incorporating indigenous knowledge and ensuring accessible, actionable data governance are key for global sustainability. Enabler 5. Build pioneering coalitions. While new forms of digital multilateralism are needed, this alone is not enough to effectively govern and steer the pace and direction of digital technologies. Inclusive and mission-oriented coalitions between governments, academia, private sector actors, and civil society organizations will be needed to catalyze transformational investments in digital innovation ecosystems, infrastructure, and emerging standards that are promised on planetary sustainability. Committed coalitions with a shared sense of common purpose and practice can serve as testing grounds for better standards and governance solutions. Agile approaches to define and test reflexive and iterative governance frameworks for digital technologies must be explored. This should be based on adaptive, forward-looking, and innovation-friendly regulation together with tiered and principle-based approaches to collective governance. Enabler 6. Adopt norms and standards. While the pace of digital innovation is dynamic, and although several international standards are emerging, there are only a few nascent normative and ethical frameworks in place to guide its direction at the global level. Many of these frameworks lack clear principles and norms linked to environmental and social sustainability or climate action. In this context, it is critical to develop a global set of standards and guidelines for the sustainable production, use, and adoption of digital technologies based on specific, measurable, achievable, and time-bound indicators. Additionally, it is critical to set a global standard methodology for assessing and measuring the net impact of digital technologies on sustainability and climate change. It is noted that standardization in this domain has been ongoing for a decade or more. So any effort in this direction should start from existing standardization process as well as the emerging field of corporate digital responsibility. Efforts in this direction will also need to cover the governance of data that is being used to fuel digital transformation and has become one of the new factors of production alongside land, labor, and capital. Now, let's talk about shift 2, mitigate negative impact. The second shift calls for a reduction in the negative environmental and social impacts that arise from digital technologies and their supply chains. These impacts include significant ecological problems linked to energy and material consumption, coupled with social issues tied to unsustainable consumption patterns, misinformation, unequal access to digital technologies, discrimination in the provisioning of digital skills and capabilities, or targeted human rights violations. Code's stakeholders identified 6 strategic priorities that must be addressed to mitigate these negative impacts and ensure that digitalization is responsible, ethical, and sustainable. These include reducing energy and emissions, minimizing material waste, addressing consumption drivers, mitigating misinformation, reducing the digital divide, and preventing rights violation. Problem 1. Reduce energy and emissions. According to the International Telecommunication Unit (ITU), information and communications technologies share of global electricity consumption was projected to reach 3.2% in 2020. Depending on scope and method of calculation, some estimates suggest that the ICT sector could be up to 7% of the total global electricity use in 2020. Peer-reviewed studies estimate ICT's current share of global greenhouse gas emissions ranging from 1.8% to 3.9% depending on the calculation method. The explosion of digital cryptocurrencies is also accelerating energy consumption and associated carbon footprint. The carbon footprint of the Bitcoin network annualized from 2017 to 2022 was a staggering 114 megatons, comparable to the carbon footprint of Czech Republic. Some strategies to address this have focused on investments in sustainable, decentralized, renewable energy infrastructure and green data centers. More broadly, common standards are needed to ensure the energy consumption and carbon emissions of digital platforms be transparently aggregated and calculated. Enabling policies and incentivization mechanisms such as sustainable public procurement can thus ensure compliance with such global standards. The problem second, minimize material base. The rapid growth of digital economy increases demand for ICT devices, impacting land, water, air, and biodiversity through increased mineral extraction. E-waste production hit 53.6 million metric tons in 2019, with only 17.4% recycled and 78 countries having e-waste legislation. Digitalization must align with circular economy principles, holding ICT producers accountable through extended producer responsibility and enforcing stricter sustainability requirements. Minimum standards for green digital infrastructure procurement would further support a circular economy. Problem third, addressing consumption drivers. Current marketplace and social media models enable one-way data flow to digital platforms, fueling consumption through targeted ads, personalized content, and 24/7 purchasing opportunities. Efficiency gains in supply chains drive down production costs, leading to increased consumption. Policy actions and economic frameworks promoting sustainability must consider these factors, employing system-level measures like carbon pricing and ethical guidelines for digital nudging to mitigate indirect rebound effects. Problem 4. Mitigating misinformation. With 4.6 billion people connected on social media, there is immense potential for social change, but also risk from misinformation. False news is 70% more likely to be retweeted than true news, impacting issues like climate change and biodiversity. Trusted information sources should be prioritized and misinformation flagged or removed to prevent polarization and mistrust. Problem 5. Closing the digital divide. The digital divide stems from systemic inequalities and must be tackled through agile governance and public investment in digital infrastructure and literacy. It encompasses inequalities beyond internet access, including disparities in tools, information, skills, and agency. Efforts to bridge the divide should address biases in STEM, promote diversity and inclusivity, and improve infrastructure affordability and availability. A whole of society approach is essential to ensure no one is left behind. Problem 6. Preventing rights violations. In the digital era, safeguarding human rights and environmental justice is crucial as more aspects of life transition online. Digital technologies impact rights like freedom of expression, privacy, and indigenous land rights. Key concerns include human rights abuses in mining areas, digital surveillance of activists, and online data privacy violations. Rights must be protected throughout the digital value chain with new mechanisms like secure multi-party computation and youth rights considerations. Prioritizing indigenous data governance and regulating data usage comprehensively are essential for an inclusive, rights-based digital environment. Shift 3. Accelerating innovation. The third shift calls for the digital innovation community, including governments, development partners, private sector, informal economy actors, local communities, and academia to channel large investments, capacity development, and collective efforts towards digitalization for sustainability. The application of digital innovations must prioritize the implementation of the 2030 Agenda with its 17 Sustainable Development Goals while working towards the different global environmental commitments adopted through multilateral environmental agreements. Core stakeholders identified 6 strategic priorities where digital innovations can be proactively used to implement, accelerate, and scale sustainability globally. The priorities are to build planetary digital twin, catalyze sustainable circular economy, empower sustainable consumption, create knowledge commons, support governance breakthroughs, and realize green, digital, just transition. Dear students, now let us talk about innovations. First, building planetary digital twin. Digital twins combined with artificial intelligence automate monitoring of risks to protected areas and ecosystem services, aiding understanding of Sustainable Development Goals and MEAs. However, fragmented efforts hinder real-time planetary health monitoring. Substantial investments are needed for interoperable digital twin systems, data transparency, and citizen science integration to inform decision making across sectors. Innovation second, catalyzing sustainable circular economy. Digital transformation enables private sector businesses to adopt circular models, advancing decarbonization and environmental accountability. This involves transforming from product provision to service offerings, implementing digital product passports for sustainability data and aligning business practices with ESG goals to drive demand for sustainable products. Ultimately, this fosters a beyond growth paradigm prioritizing social and environmental responsibility within a circular economy framework. Now let us talk about innovation 3, empowering sustainable consumption. Digital tools in e-commerce platforms, social media, gaming, and fintech can promote sustainable consumption by offering product comparability, ethical nudging, carbon footprint calculators, and green activations. Additionally, digital marketplaces facilitate collaborative consumption. Privacy protection and adaptability to local contexts are crucial. Digitalization enables mass collaboration and citizen mobilization through platforms like citizen science and crowdfunding. Designing digital platforms to influence sustainable consumption drivers at scale is essential. Now let's talk about innovation 4, creating knowledge commons. Digital tools expand knowledge co-production, processing, and sharing globally, fostering inclusive forms like citizen and open science. However, challenges like lack of accessibility and infrastructure persist. Building an inclusive knowledge commons requires operationalizing fair and care principles, public funding for open science, and investments in digital literacy. This global commons holds vast potential for sustainable development, empowerment, and environmental awareness. Now let's talk about innovation 5, supporting governance breakthroughs. Global commitments to sustainable development goals and MEAs often overlook the potential of digital technologies for sustainability and regulatory compliance. Innovations are needed to enhance governance systems, adaptability, automate systems of national accounts with sustainability criteria, ensure transparent monitoring of legal compliance, and incentivize collective sustainability actions through decentralized solutions. Public participation and crowdsourcing governance solutions are crucial but require critical assessment of automated processes and power dynamics. Governance innovations should prioritize inclusion, ownership, and agency of underrepresented groups, support self-governance, and address biases. They should also bridge the global-local divide by connecting local interests with global decision making. Now let's talk about innovations number 6, fostering green, digital, just transition. This involves leapfrogging into smart cities, enhancing rural energy access with off-grid solutions, and promoting sustainable agriculture. Governments and businesses should invest in locally relevant digital innovations, fostering green digital jobs and livelihoods. To address innovation inequality, promote access to digital innovations globally, empower local ecosystems, and prioritize inclusive approaches targeting marginalized communities, women, and youth. Students, let us now shift our focus to CODE's engagement pathways. The founding co-champions of CODES collectively initiate and engage in multi-stakeholder consultations to pool academic, policy, and industry-oriented knowledge from across the public and private entities, civil society, and indigenous groups on advancing digital sustainability. CODES aims to conduct collective intelligence and co-creation processes with stakeholders as the basis for collective action, with an emphasis on diversity, inclusion, and gender balance. To date, the Code's co-champions have mapped over 240 stakeholders working on digital sustainability at the global and regional levels and have engaged over 1,000 people from 100 countries working on the digital transformation and sustainability nexus. Code stakeholders are invited to join and collaborate with codes through three intersecting engagement pathways. 1. Catalyzer. Stakeholders seeking to engage directly with one or more of the impact initiatives that are proposed in the action plan or future iterations. Second, action network. Stakeholders are contributing to and leveraging the three shifts proposed in the action plan to support the progression of digital sustainability. Third is advocates. Stakeholders seeking to contribute their expertise to the codes community and become an advocate for the code's vision and values. Now, we shall be discussing the code's impact initiatives briefly. Dear learners, the code's community has collectively identified 9 impact initiatives as a starting point to catalyze the three shifts and progress the 6 strategic priorities within each shift. Engagement with these initiatives provides numerous benefits and competitive advantages as the whole of society shifts towards recognizing the need and importance of growth that is sustainable, just, and inclusive to ensure long-term development and prosperity. The unique global and multi-stakeholder alliance across public and private sectors facilitated through codes creates a platform that is ideally positioned to galvanize critical progress towards digital sustainability. Within each system shift, there are 3 impact initiatives. The initiatives within the first shift are World Commission on Sustainability in the Digital Age Clearinghouse for Digital Sustainability Standards Education for Digital Sustainable Development. The second shift includes harmonization of digital companies, greenhouse gas inventories, sustainable procurement, and green digital infrastructure pledge, digital product passport for circularity. The third shift includes digital sustainability innovations hubs and accelerators, data and assessments as digital public goods for sustainability, decentralized financing of sustainable solutions. The set of impact initiatives emerging from this action plan are defined according to certain criteria. First, multi-stakeholders. Multi-stakeholders in nature meaning either a consortium of private or public sector entities or public-private partnerships with opportunities for engagement by international actors and civil society. Catalytic aims to catalyze system-level or sector-level transformations and impact at a global or regional scale. Third, sustained attention. Initiative requires sustained political attention and financial support to trigger systems level or sector level transformations. Now, the leadership. Clearly identified leadership, measurable goals, and multi-stakeholder governance model. Now, accountability. Progress reported against key performance indicators and milestones in a format and frequency co-designed and determined in consultations with the related stakeholders and code's co-champions. Now, intersections are intersecting in nature and seek to enable approaches, policies, standards, regulations, infrastructure, and governance frameworks that are necessary to catalyze digital sustainability. The 9 impact initiatives here are developed to inspire and to provoke further concentrating action by different pioneering coalitions. Neither the Code's co-champions nor the whole Code's network could drive and implement these initiatives alone. We now need even bigger coalitions. We need new partners, agile pioneers, as well as capable established organizations. We need broader collaborations and truly global collective actions. So dear students, I hope you have enjoyed and learned this discussion on Coalition for Digital Environment Sustainability. Thank you very much.